Okay, welcome to the Female Finance Collective, where we encourage women to have open and honest conversations about all things money. Today, we're continuing our conversations about goals. It's a great month of January to do so, and we're talking about staying on track. Because have you guys heard about that? Like 2 weeks in, most people kind of lose track of their goals and actually are quitting. I think it's called Quitters Friday. Um, yeah, so today we're going to talk about staying on track and helping you and ourselves reach our really important financial goals.
Listen, I think that one of the biggest keys for me to stay motivated is to feel like I'm making some sort of progress, right?
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be anything, but if I don't keep track at all and I don't feel close to my goal, then I'm like, forget it. This is so far away. I'm never going to make it. Like nothing's working. But if I can just keep track a little bit, that really helps me. So let's just say my goal was to put $500 in savings. And so far, I've only transferred $5. Well, part of me might be like, $5. Oh my gosh, I'm still so far away. But if you set up somewhere that you track, even if it's just a note in your phone where you're going to type the number every time you add it, or like a little piece of paper that you've got tucked away in your wallet or your backpack or whatever that you just pull out and add every time you transfer money over, that feels better because you're showing some sort of progress. I know that that really helps me, whether I'm trying to eat better if I write down what I've eaten. So if I'm like, well, I haven't lost any weight, but I can look back and be like, but look, I've eaten produce every day at every meal. I've been doing, those types of things. It really helps me to kind of see the little baby steps that I'm making.
Yeah, those small milestones and tracking it, it's huge for me too.
I track a lot when it comes to my finances, and this has been an evolution. So I've been at this, like diligently looking at my money for, I think it's like 8 years now. So I do things like track my savings rate. So just as a percentage of my income. Right now, I track my income as well because I'm an entrepreneur. So it's one of those metrics. I'm trying to see what my revenue is. I'm trying to see what my profits are on a regular basis. And I just find having that just breaking out those percentages really helps to keep me motivated because if I'm not looking at those specific numbers, I tend to lose focus a little bit. And it just, the finances just aren't as pertinent. So I think what's interesting to know is how things will evolve. So you can start out with simple tracking, just what you're actually putting into savings or what you are putting into debt payments. And then it can get more complex over time with any kind of metrics that you find helpful to keep you on the path.
And I think too, it's really important for people to remember you can do whatever works for you, right? If you're Mary Lee's using big words like metrics and whatever, if that is like you're like, whoa, that's a lot. There are just get a journal, get a notebook, like write it down. If that other stuff makes it feel overwhelming, I think that sometimes is what turns people off because they're like, some people Mary Lee, you are speaking their language. And they're like, yes, that means something to me. I am all in. And other people are like, this is why money freaks me out. I don't know what that means. And that's okay. You can do it however you want. I think that's a really big key to success and like sticking with your goals is making it what works for you and not trying to do like what is working for other people.
Yeah, I'm working with a client right now whose goal is to spend within their budget on groceries every month. And we figured out together the tracking system. I actually started like too complex and we've like narrowed. I've noticed that with tracking, it's like the simpler sometimes the better, right? And what we're doing is every week. She just sends me, I spent this much on Whole Foods. I spent this much at King Supers. I spent this much at, right, in a simple text message. And then I'm putting it into the spreadsheet for her. And it's motivated me to do the same because groceries are so expensive right now, you guys. It's like insane, right? And it's one thing to say, I only want to spend X amount. Here's my budget. And it's another thing to actually do that and track it. And what we're both realizing together as we are going through this together is that now in the store or when you're planning your meal list and things like that, we're able to intentionally like be motivated to not spend as much
Mhm.
because I'm gonna have to give that person my number, right? How much I spent. And so I don't need that extra bag of chips or whatever. It's so cool. It's such a simple way to track. It's just like writing that total amount down, seeing how it's going. And so I love the idea of simple tracking because I can't personally do it really otherwise. Um, but then I think it becomes more of just how you are and how you behave in the stores and online shopping or whatever it is, because it's just like you have this motivation. Motivation's so important, and tracking really helps with
Mhm.
that, right? It helps me so much.
Well, and food is such a highly variable category. And most people, if they haven't looked at that in the last couple of years, they're in for a really big surprise. So you might have thought you're spending 200 a week on food. And if you have not looked, it is going to be a much, or 200 a week on food. It's going to be a much higher number when you take a look. And it's a great category to really actively feel like you're making progress with your finances because it does make a difference. For most families, it's one of the big three categories.
For
You've
sure.
got housing, transportation, and food. Those are usually the biggest, and there's lots of room there to make changes and to help get to your goals faster.
Mhm. What I love too that you said, Sybil, is that you are texting, like you're exchanging the numbers that you're spending. So I think a huge helper to stay on track with any goal is getting an accountability buddy or just
Yes.
getting someone, even if it's like, hey, mom, every week I'm going to text you how much I've spent on groceries. If it goes over this amount, like my goal is to stay here. So, like, feel free to send me a weird emoji if my number's too high or whatever it is, just some little thing that you can do to partner up with somebody and just say, like, even if it's not important to them, even if they're not worried about their grocery money or their savings goals or their, retirement investments or whatever your financial goals are, if you can find somebody that you trust to say, look, I need someone to kind of help me keep track of this goal or help cheer me on or support me or hold me accountable or whatever it is you need, because I think we all kind of deal with that differently, right? Some of us need that tough love, some of us just need a cheerleader. Whatever it is you need, ask somebody to help you with that, right? Say, hey, I'm going to text you every week, or I'm going to send you a screenshot of my savings account balance at the end of every month. My goal is to get it here. And just like sharing and making our goals public makes a huge difference. I just learned to crochet last year. I've done now a whopping 2 projects. My third project I decided to take on is this temperature blanket where you crochet something that represents the temperature of every single day of the year. So it is a 365-day project. Why
Oh,
I take these things
cool.
on is how I roll. But I was like, I have to tell somebody that I'm doing this, or else I'm gonna, like, no one will know. I can just quit in March and no one will know the difference. So I have a friend that I like texted some questions about it, and I've like sent her progress pictures, and I posted on social media like, hey, I'm working on this project. And that is just like a little, nobody's going to come at me if I don't finish, but it's just a little way that I'm holding myself accountable. And so I think that that's also a really good trick. Just get somebody else involved in some way.
I totally agree. I'm big on that and making it easier to celebrate then. I know we were on a call in our community last night, and one of the members was like, it's really hard I always forget celebrating, or I don't remember what she said exactly. I ignore celebrating. And if you're tracking, it's easier to celebrate, right? Because you see it in front of you and you can see that progress. I think celebrating is hard when you're not tracking because you're not convinced that you're making progress. Therefore, you just keep going. And even you maybe, I don't know about you guys, but I like maybe go to the negative self-talk if I'm not tracking, right? I didn't get enough. I'm not even near my goal, right? But if I'm tracking, I can see, okay, maybe I didn't meet my goal this month, but I now have a better idea of what my budget should be for next month. And I want to celebrate what I did do, right?
Yeah.
Because you did make some progress, even if it's just tracking is your progress. Like, what if I'm way off of my my goal, but I started tracking, and that habit is going to stick with me. That's what I could celebrate, is that I'm tracking it now. Jen, your crocheting example is a good one because I was sending my sister my daily schedule every day on a whiteboard for 2 years. And then I stopped doing my daily schedule. And I was like, this is not good. It was just so eye-opening
Mm.
how much just that accountability of sending it. She didn't look at it. She didn't, but that accountability of taking a photo and sending it to her was something I needed. And that habit helped me so much. And that's a way to track. I could go back and look, right? But if you are tracking, it's easier, I find, to celebrate, which our brains need to do and be motivated. And it helps us put us in a positive space. It helps us get the I can do this attitude, right? Instead of that negative stuff.
That's a really important reminder. I tend to always set goals that are tough to achieve, and then I get into that kind of negative talk with myself, like I'm not reaching my goal. And when I look back at where I've come from, it's really, really helpful because you can see the progress that you've made. And you're not relying on your own brain to be the one to say that you've done a great job. You're looking at actual numbers that
Yep.
show you that you've done a great
Hmm.
job. Because often when we're focused on a milestone, we're just thinking ahead and not realizing how much work we've already done and how much progress we've made. And that's the important part, is like you really have improved your life financially and with what you're able to do with your life when you take on your finances as a project or as something that's important to you.
For sure. And you totally remind me when you said I set these really big, kind of crazy goals or whatever. I think that when we do that, not all of us, but some of us can get burned out then working towards those. Like they feel some of us we can go to extremes. I feel like people,
Yeah.
not us, but the collective we. We can either go, forget it, that was way too hard. What was I thinking? Never mind. Or we can go like, I can't spend this. I know I have holes in my socks, but I am trying to do this goal. Like, I know we haven't been out to eat in a month and we really need a date night, but like we're trying to get this much money in our savings. Like we can really take it so far that then we just get burned out on money. And I think that's a really common, Marilee, you're more of an expert of this, like working with clients specifically. But in my opinion, I feel like that's a really common thing that happens with people. They just get so burned out trying to like get ahead or get on top of it or feel like they're making good progress financially that they just say, forget it. So I think one of the things, and it kind of ties in with that celebration aspect, but one of the things is to like kind of avoid burning yourself out on these like crazy things that you're trying to achieve. Like maybe you set these, celebrations at different levels. So once you get, 10% of the money that you wanted to get saved, you go out for dinner or you do something that you is like maybe not a splurge, but something that you were trying to hold back on a little bit while you spent. Or maybe you do go to the grocery store one day and just be like, you know what, I'm going to put the extras in here this week because we've really been doing a great job. Or, getting tickets for a show that you maybe would have tried to avoid, or just anything like that that you can kind of build in as a way to celebrate, but B, a way to keep yourself from burning out. So you don't feel like, gosh, I'm missing out on all the things I really love. I can't do anything fun.
Often the opposite of the like what happens with a burnout situation is you actually cause more financial damage when you
Right.
fall off of your habits. So that's where, the hardest thing to do is to have balance. Like we live our lives day to day. So it's important that we create a life that we really, really enjoy, but also being mindful to set something aside for the future because, we're going to spend a bunch of time in retirement. And for most of us, that's going to take some of our own resources that we save or debt that we've paid off. So that finding that balance is really, really hard, but it is important to enjoy your life day to day too. So it's not just about reaching financial goals. It's also enjoying the journey that you're on with your family and all the things that you like to do in life.
Yeah, building the lifestyle you want for today and the future, right? Like that's such a good reminder, Mary. I think it's so important that we are setting financial goals, short term, middle term, long term. We've talked about this in the last couple episodes. So go back and listen to those if you want, more information specifics about that. Today we're really talking about tracking our goals and then reaching them, right? And tracking our goals helps us stay motivated. It helps us see which wins to celebrate. Um, it's really helpful. We talked about having an accountability partner, somebody, even just a text, somebody you can talk with this about. And then also, all these things help us not have financial burnout, and it helps us turn everything more positive. We want our mind space to feel good about money. And that's when we're going to be able to live our dreams and move ourselves forward. So we invite you guys to share your goals with us. Comment down below, reach out to us on Instagram or YouTube or Pinterest, all the places that you can find the Female Finance Collective. And before you listen to the next episode, share your goals with us. Write them down, share them with a friend, and track that progress. Start today. It's never too late. Yes, it's mid to late January. It doesn't matter. Start today. And remember that we're here for you. And those open and honest conversations are so, so important. And inviting you and empowering you to join the journey. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.